guys, the Black Critic Guy, and welcome to another installment of my ongoing top 10 series for the month of July. This top 10 was requested by one of my subscribers, Mark12033, and it's on my top 10 apocalyptic films. Now, the reason I chose this list is because it's kind of out of the norm for me. Normally, if I were to make a top 10 movies list, it would be on my top 10 favorite action movies, top 10 favorite romance comedies, top 10 comedies, and I just thought, let me try to go out of my comfort zone here and talk about a subject that I don't really talk about a lot in my channel, which is apocalyptic films. And another reason that I chose to do this list is because, like the found footage genre, the apocalyptic genre has just blew up in popularity in the course of almost 7 years. There's been at least 5 to 10 new apocalyptic films coming out each and every year. And why not throw my hat into the mix and talk about my top 10 apocalyptic films? And to sound just like a broken record, just like in my other top 10 list, there are a bunch of rules and requirements that need to be met in order to be part of this list. The first one being that there must be an apocalyptic element throughout the entire film, whether it be biblical, doomsday, aliens, zombies, what have you. It must have some sort of apocalyptic element in it. Now, this next one's not a rule, but I thought about it and I said, yeah, those count, so I'm allowing animated features that have apocalyptic elements onto this list. And really, those are the only 2 requirements that I made for this list. I mean, there's not really much to look into for an apocalyptic film to be an apocalyptic film. If the world is ending, it's an apocalyptic film. But enough formalities, let's get on to the list. Number 10 is The Day After Tomorrow. Now, The Day After Tomorrow is one of 2 movies on this list that I wasn't a personal fan of. I mean, I enjoy them for what it is, but it wasn't really a movie I would rush out to see again. But I couldn't deny the true destructive nature of the world coming to end due to global warming. I wanted to put 2012 in the place of The Day After Tomorrow, but between the 2, I had more fun with The Day After Tomorrow, although that's not really saying much, but it is a true apocalyptic film. Number 9 is Shaun of the Dead. Now, many of you might be angry that this is so low on the list, but the reason that it's so low on this list, while I did enjoy it, it's one of those movies, again, that I don't see myself watching again. Not because I hated it, it was just an okay movie in my opinion. But the one thing that I really liked about Shaun of the Dead, and what really made it stood out, is that it took a comedic approach to the zombie apocalypse. Before this movie came out, it was more serious tone, you know, the zombies, we gotta survive and do all this good stuff. They took a more comedic approach to it, and the way that they ended the film I thought was freaking brilliant. And you really can't go wrong with Edgar Wright. I just love that guy as a director and a writer. And speaking of the dead, my number 8 choice is Dawn of the Dead. One of the first zombie movies that I remember seeing as a kid that scared the living shit out of me. And these weren't your typical slow walking zombies. Oh no. Zack Snyder decided to make them sprint at you. The minute that they smelled you or even saw you, they just sprint like a mob rushing to eat and devour your flesh, which add to the intensity of this zombie apocalypse. And there's a lot of kick-ass action scenes. There are some strong character moments, believe it or not. There are some good character moments. And Ving Rhames, I mean, the guy's a freaking badass. I loved him throughout the movie. Dawn of the Dead is the true definition of a walking contradiction in the fact that it brought back to life and brought interest back into the zombie genre of movies. Huh? Get it? God, I need to stop doing stuff like that. But I couldn't help it, it was clever. Number 7 is WALL-E. WALL-E, in my opinion, is probably the most realistic apocalyptic film because I can actually see us heading down this direction if we keep on the path that we are. I mean, overpopulation, pollution, trash all over the place, which will leave us no choice but to leave Earth until it can be fixed. And the opening 20 minutes of this film really emphasize the apocalyptic nature of this world. I mean, it looks so dirty, so decrepit. I mean, I would never want to live in a world just like this. And of course, no apocalyptic movie can be complete without a dash of hope. And I love the message that WALL-E gives, which is we can make a difference, we can make a change if we worked really hard and bettered our lives. Also, I can't help but mention the love story. So freaking cute, one of the best love stories I've ever seen. But yeah, that's why WALL-E is number 7. Number 6 is The Book of Eli. Now, a lot of you might be very shocked to see this so high on the list, beating out WALL-E, Dawn of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, and The Day After Tomorrow. And the reason that I put it so high on this list, just like WALL-E, I felt like this was a realistic depiction of what would happen after the apocalypse occurred. And it shows you how people are trying to restore their lives. Yes, it's a bit dirty and crummy, but I mean, it's the apocalypse. You're gonna have to make do with what you have. And it really shows you the true struggles that these characters go through. I mean, they scavenge for water, they scavenge for food, they almost go out and kill each other on a daily basis. And not only that, but Denzel Washington was a freaking badass in this movie. Every action scene he was in was so amazing to watch. It was awesome. And also, Gary Oldman plays a very convincing bad guy, and he was awesome in the role. And I thought that the ending and the twist in the movie was handled pretty well. Had I not known about the twist, I think I would have been thoroughly surprised, but somebody, again, was an asshole and ruined the ending for me. Number 5 is a movie that literally came out a month ago, but I enjoyed it so much that I had to add it on this list, and that is This Is the End. What I love about This Is the End is not only was it funny, but I love the fact that the actors were able to make fun of themselves and be good sports about it. And it also goes to show you that because you're an actor doesn't mean you're gonna get into heaven. In fact, nobody in James Franco's party got ascended into heaven until they kind of did a good deed later on in the film. But I loved how they played off of that. And although this film is basically a comedy, they did play off the apocalyptic themes pretty well, and they made for some intense and terrifying moments. This Is the End shows you how celebrities would react in an apocalypse situation, which is pretty funny. Number 4 is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Now, unlike most of the movies on this list, this is the one apocalyptic film where they were able to stop the apocalypse from happening. And if you're gonna say, what about Terminator 3 or Terminator Salvation? I don't count those. They weren't made by James Cameron, they weren't executive produced by James Cameron, they have nothing to do with James Cameron's vision of the Terminator franchise, so I don't count them. In this movie, you don't really see the apocalypse happening, but you get this really looming threat that the apocalypse is near. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna change it? And it keeps you invested in the story and invested in the characters. And the fact that they were able to stop the apocalypse from happening and save the world to fight another day, I thought was pretty awesome. And also the relationship with John Connor and the Terminator was actually really well developed, and I loved their relationship. The Terminator was like a surrogate father to John Connor, and I really loved the bond and connection that they had. Number 3 is The Matrix. The Matrix is a mindfuck if ever there was one. I mean, how would you feel if I told you that the world that you're living in right now is not real? It's all an illusion. And that the real world is this dark, decrepit, and devastated planet where the robots have taken over. You would probably lose your mind right now. And that is what made The Matrix such a compelling movie. It challenges your perspective of reality, of what's real and what's fake. And it also challenges you with the choice of, would you stay in this fake world designed by robots to keep you comfortable and safe, or would you actually try to free yourself from robot oppression even though you know that the world is literally shit? Stuff like that reminds me just how great The Matrix as a film was. Not only did it have spectacular visual effects, great writing, entertaining characters, but it challenges you on such an intellectual level that it's mind-blowing. The experience is mind-blowing. And not only that, but the real world in The Matrix is without a doubt one of the most devastated worlds I ever seen in an apocalyptic movie. I mean, they literally blotted out the sun with thunderclouds. It's dark all the time. There is no sunshine. There is no land. There's nothing left. Everything that was once living is gone. Now, number 2, coincidentally, is the second film on this list that I wasn't a big fan of, but I can't deny the destructive and apocalyptic nature of this film, and that is the end of Evangelion. The sheer destruction and the fact that we actually saw the world coming to an end is the reason that this film landed on this list. You see, most apocalyptic films shows you the aftermath of the apocalypse, or shows people living through the apocalypse, but this one actually shows you the beginning, the genesis of the apocalypse, and it is frightening. I mean, you just see this big ass Ray body reaching out to the sky with her demonic laugh and evil smile, red piercing eyes looking down upon the earth as each and every one of the people on earth turn into LCL, and it blew my mind. I was speechless after I saw this movie. That's how much this film impacted me. And for that scene alone, showing you the world coming to an end right in front of your eyes, is why the end of Evangelion is number 2. But my number 1 choice of the best apocalyptic film, in my opinion, is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Stopped Worrying and Loved the Bomb. What made this one of the best apocalyptic films I've ever seen is that it details the events leading up to the apocalypse and the escalation of paranoia that came with it, and just the true silliness of the event. I mean, seriously, just watch the film and watch how it escalates and escalates and escalates. It's like winding a string on a guitar. You keep winding it and winding it, it gets tighter and tighter till it finally snaps. And that's exactly what Doctor Strangelove is. It's this really tense moment. It gets tenser and tenser and tenser until it finally just falls apart at the scene. And one thing that I really loved about this film is how they played off the irony of the situation and the bizarreness of the situation. It's probably one of the greatest dark comedies that I've ever seen, and it gets better and better each time that I watch it. I mean, the writing was solid, the direction by Stanley Kubrick, one of my favorite directors of all time, was spot on, and the performances were excellent. They were superb. You got George C. Scott, you got Peter Sellers, who did phenomenal in this film. He played 3 roles. He played the President of the United States, he played an RAF officer, and then he played the title character, Dr. Strangelove, who was freaking amazing. Every scene with Dr. Strangelove was my favorite scene in the film. The film is just a testament to great filmmaking. Not only was it a great apocalyptic film, but it's just a phenomenal film altogether. And that's why Dr. Strangelove is my #1 choice for the best apocalyptic film I've seen. And those, ladies and gentlemen, were my choices for the top 10 apocalyptic films that I've personally seen. And I would like to know, what are your choices for the best apocalyptic films that you've ever seen? Are they on this list? Did I not mention them? Be sure to comment below, let me know. But until then, guys, hit that subscribe button. If you're new to my channel, welcome to the Black Critic Guy. Like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm Tony Wilder II from the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.